This is section 2, lecture 6, coaching. So one of the ways that you can create an income for yourself as a digital nomad that's location independent is through coaching.
Yes, you can definitely do coaching. That's something I do. I focus on teaching people how to be digital nomads. And I've been coaching for about 5 years back in Vancouver, BC, Canada, and now while I'm on the road. And I didn't always teach on this subject. I used to coach people on blogging and social media. And I basically fine-tuned my coaching based on the need and also my passion. So with you guys who are watching, I would highly recommend narrowing down what you're coaching about, because there's a general term called life coach, which has a lot of stigmas. Because everyone can call themselves a coach. You don't need any certification. You don't need to go to the school, and you don't need to be experienced or expert. You can just call yourself, I am Coach Ricky. I'm Coach Scott. I'm Coach Jill or Michelle. So the problem is that everyone can call themselves a coach. So there's no filter to see who is really a legitimate course, who has results. So part of the reason why I decided to narrow it down on coaching people about blogging, social media, and being a digital nomad is because I have results. I have a blog called daddyblogger.com, which has literally, 100,000 plus social media followers and blog followers on daddyblogger.com. My social media is up there. My YouTube channel has about 2 million plus views. So I can claim to be a coach because I've done it in terms of the results. Also, as a digital nomad, here I am in Trinidad, and Scott is over there in Moldova, and we are both living the life of digital nomads. We're not in our hometown in a basement talking about being digital nomads. We actually are. And we've seen the struggles too, in terms of the income drops up and down, in terms of the internet cutting in and out, in terms of the fights on the road with my spouse and kids, in terms of not understanding the language or the culture, or having buses not arrive on time, or missing a bus or plane or a flight. So I've lived the life of a digital nomad, therefore I can coach on it. So I would highly, highly, highly recommend not just calling yourself a life coach, but narrowing it down on your particular area of passion, experience, and expertise.
I would totally agree, Ricky. I have a question for you. What are some of the functions or tasks of a coach? Like if you were to sit down with, say, sat down with me and said, okay, Scott, I'm your coach. Now, what does Scott expect from you as a coach? And the reason I want to bring this up is I want us to be able to model for everybody that's watching in terms of what are the expectations of a coach?
Yeah, absolutely. And we can do a little case study here. You can be a guinea pig if you like. But basically, when I'm coaching a client, it's very client centric. So I don't go there with an agenda. I obviously have my knowledge base, and I have things that I can coach about based on kind of like what I've seen most of my clients needing. But I always look at what is their biggest issue or concern or need. So out of the clients I currently coach, I'm coaching on different areas of being a digital nomad. For example, I have one client in Ontario. He's a dad with 3 kids, and he's going to be going on a trip next year with his partner and kids. And he doesn't know where to start. So I'm helping him with the logistics of planning the trip, which places to go, etc. I'm also helping him launch his own travel blog because, again, that's something I have done and I'm doing, and I'm getting sponsored travel, etc. So I'm helping him launch a blog, and also helping him craft the pitch letters to tourism boards, etc. I have another client in Vancouver. She's a single female in her 30s, and she is going to be going to New Zealand, and she has a lot of fears, self-doubts. There's a lot of confidence issues. So I'm teaching her mindset. She already has a blog, so I don't need to teach her that, but I need to fix her brain, so to speak, or help her. And I don't look at myself as a counselor. I actually have a degree in psychology, by the way, so I do have the skill of a therapist, counselor, like the ability to counsel people. And coaching is partially counseling, is partially mentoring, is partially being the cheerleader. But at the end of the day, you look at a coach as someone who's a motivator, who's someone who believes in you. And you think of traditional sports coaches as great examples, like the Pat Rileys of the world. These people are, when you think of a coach, are the modern day coach in terms of life coaching, business coaching, travel coaching. Hopefully that clears things up there in terms of what I coach people about.
Okay, so when you're coaching, so let's just take an example. You're coaching this fellow who wants to take his 3 kids and his partner and go away. They have no clue what they're doing. So would you help him with, say, the research in terms of whether, like, let's say he thought, well, maybe Greece, maybe Spain. Would you be looking at Spain with him, or when you're not with him, and to come up with places or ideas?
Yeah, so typically what I do is I have about a 3-month program, and we go through his major needs. So we prioritize his needs. So if his major need is that decision, whether they go to Greece or Italy, we'll prioritize that. If his major concern is safety for the kids, we'll prioritize that. If his major concern is starting the travel blog, which is his kind of big passion right now, we're focusing on that. I typically like the 3-month to 6-month commitment because I have done coaching just a one-off. I mean, people can hire me for 1 hour, one session, and we can do a deep dive into one specific problem area. And over that 1 hour, boom, they pick my brain, and I'm able to steer them in the right direction. I've also done about a 1-month coaching, but I find real change and growth needs at least 3 to 6 months. So I definitely highly recommend that if you're thinking about getting to coaching. Have more of a program. If you have modules and all, that's good. And it's always good to have fallbacks because I know at the end of the day, I could teach people about blogging, social media, destination-specific stuff because I've been to 66 countries as of now on 6 continents. So I'm a well-versed traveler, and I've seen a lot in terms of the good and the bad. So I can definitely coach people on this. That person I'm helping him out with, he's pretty comfortable choosing the countries, the cities, etc. He needs help with the travel blog. So that's why we're laser targeting on launching the blog. I actually give him homework assignment every session as well. At the end of the session, we'll have the 1 hour discussion back and forth, and we will have an action item for him to complete before we talk next time. And he's accountable to me. Part of the great benefit of having a coach is that you are accountable to another person to finish the task. Because a lot of us, I mean, myself included, I'm sure yourself is included as well, Scott, we tend to procrastinate because life gets in the way, family gets in the way, travel gets in the way, and you get busy. And then you end up putting off stuff. But with a coach and accountability partner, you cannot not do it because otherwise your coach will be on your back saying, what happened, Ricky? Why didn't you complete your assignment? And I just want to give a caveat too. Not only do I coach people, I get coached too. So I have the output and I have the input. So I have hired my own coach and I pay him monthly, and he's actually helping me in my own business. And that's really taken my business to the roof. And I really want to be both a teachable person because I want to be in the client's shoes to know what it's like to be coached and also to coach. So that's where I'm at in terms of the coaching. I love it. I love seeing the changes in the clients that I coach in terms of getting them to a place where they never even thought they could be a digital nomad, just thinking, oh my God, I'm about to be a digital nomad. This is scary, but I'm excited. And I love these testimonies.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Ricky. There was one you actually, there's an issue with coaching that because I did a lot of mentoring in the early 2000s, and we were very specific that this was mentoring, not coaching. And I want to get into the distinctions between the two in a minute. But one of the problems that we had as mentors, because we were mentoring people on how to start a business online, was this whole the expectation of making money, right? So we called this monkey on the back, because we had to deal with the expectation of the client, and so that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about. But you kind of dealt with it, like you have a very specific outcome that you're working with your clients to get. In this case, it's become a digital nomad, right? So it's very easy to tell when they've done it. The guy's packed up, he's left Toronto, he's in England, he's a digital nomad. He's not coming home for 6 months, right? And so I thought, wow, like that's really cool, because what my experience with it was, of course, is like, I haven't made any sales on my website today. So what do I need to do? And that put a lot of pressure on us. So I think one of the things about coaching that is really important is having a very specific outcome that you're guiding the people towards, so that you can say, here's, there, we have been successful. You have achieved what you hired me to coach you to achieve. And now we can, of course, there's something else and something else and something else. Not like it's going to be the end of the coaching necessarily, but I think one of the problems that a lot of coaches have is they don't manage expectations very well. And the result is there's all this pressure on, you told me that I would have my sweetheart and I would get married within a year, and it's been like 2 months and he's nowhere to be found, which is not a very happy place for a coach.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. Definitely, you need to have tangible results. There's a saying: SMART goals, so specific, measurable, attainable, results oriented, and then time bound. So if you start with that in terms of the coaching, even on the first session, what are the outcomes you want to achieve over the next 3 months, 6 months, a year, and then you basically reverse engineer it. Say, this is the outcome. I'd love to launch my travel blog and having maybe 5,000 followers or 10,000 followers in 6 months. And then I will actually give them feedback. It's not realistic, Scott, for you to have 10 million followers in 1 month. Or it is actually achievable for you to achieve 5,000 followers based on your 1,500 you have now within 3 months. So I will also give feedback to make sure that we can do it together. It is very much a team effort. Just like any, I love the analogy of a sports coach, because the coach is on the sidelines and the players on the field. And unless you guys work together, they're not going to win the championship, the Stanley Cup, the Lombardi Trophy, the NBA championship, the World Series, unless you work together. And that's what happens in sports. Sometimes the players, they get so focused on themselves that they leave the coach behind. Or sometimes the coach becomes so egocentric, they forget that the players are the ones performing. So I look at the coach-client relationship as very much that, a relationship. And it takes three to succeed. It takes the coach, it takes the client, and it takes a relationship between the two to succeed. So 3 elements for coaching client success.
Cool. And you reminded me of a story that I want to share, because it just sort of reflects what happens when you are not clear on your expectations and on your goals. So once upon a time, there was this executive, and he was not in very good shape. So he said, you know what, I need to get into good shape, so I'm going to go to the gym. So he went to the gym, and he said, I need a trainer. So he said, well, the owner said, well, Ricky's a really good trainer. He'll train you. So Ricky came up, and they met, and they talked, and basically the gentleman said, I'm very, very busy. So I want you to tell me how much time I need, 3 times a week, 4 times a week, whatever it is. I will show up, but don't tell me. I've just got too much going on in my head. Don't tell me anything. Just give me the work. Let me do the work and let me get fit. And so the trainer said, okay, no problem. So a month comes by, 2 months go by, 3 months go by. The trainer is just ecstatic. This guy is hammering away at everything. He's getting stronger. He's just the perfect client. And the trainer is so happy every time he sees him, right? And he can see the difference in the body, everything. 3 months, at the end of 3 months, the guy comes up to the trainer and he says, I quit. And the trainer goes like, why? He says, it's too hard. He said, I thought it would get easier raising those weights and everything else. It's been 3 months and I'm still like, I'm huffing and puffing and I'm exhausted. I go home, I'm sore. He says, I just can't do this anymore. And the trainer says, but when you started, it was 5 pounds and now it's 300 pounds. He says, I just kept adding on more weight.
So, that's funny. Great story.
Yeah. So you have to make sure that you're telling your clients where they are, because sometimes they don't know, right? Like you need to know that you're progressing. I love to hike, and I can remember a couple times hiking up a mountain thinking, man, like I am exhausted, I'm tired, and I don't feel like I'm looking at the same tree. I don't feel like I'm anywhere near the top. And then I turn around and I look down, and the people are this big, and I'm 3/4 of the way up the mountain. Like, no wonder I'm huffing and puffing. But so we have to remind our clients, turn around, look where you were, look where you are, and celebrate those moves.
Absolutely. Celebrate every single success on the way to the big success.
Yeah. So, Ricky, what would you say is the difference between mentoring and coaching?
Great question. I think it has to do with the dollar amount, honestly. But because most mentors, they don't get paid. I look at like if I
Mm,
wanted to approach someone and say, "Hey, Scott, you're great at Udemy courses. I like to really launch my own. Do you mind mentoring me on that?" I look at that as more like asking if you can teach me for free. Again, there are other differentials, but I think that is the big one. Whereas a coach, I think most people don't coach for free. So when I say, "Hey Scott, I'm really struggling to launch my online course. Do you mind actually coaching me on that?" I think there's an implicit differentiation in the word itself that one is free, one's paid. So I wouldn't call myself a mentor. I would call myself a coach. And I mean, I'm actually a mentor as well in many areas. For example, Big Brothers. I don't do it currently because I'm a digital nomad. It's hard to be a big brother when you're a digital nomad. But back in Vancouver, BC, Canada, I was a big brother to my little brother. His name is Stuart. He's from Scotland, and we used to hang around Vancouver. I'm Indian, as is quite obvious, and my little brother was Scottish redhead, and we'd walk around. He's 11 years old. I was in my 20s, and we'd walk around, and people are probably wondering why is this Indian dude hanging around with this 11-year-old redhead. But that was a mentoring relationship. I feel a big brother. I was obviously not getting paid. I was volunteering my time because I was so passionate about this whole thing about single moms raising their kids, not having a father figure, because of my own backstory of my parents divorcing and me being in need of a big brother myself. So therefore, I decided to give back and become a big brother to my little brother Stuart. So I hope that helps with the differentiation in terms of mentorship and coaching.